Hey everyone, this is the Empowered PCS. I'm Madeline Friddle in Jacksonville, Florida, and today we're going to talk to you about buying new construction, what to look for, what to be concerned with, why to bring an agent, and basically how we can help you as agents with new builders and new construction homes.
I'm Christina Zimmerman. I cover Whidbey Island, Washington, and the Florida Panhandle.
And Melinda Cruzzi DePerna in San Diego. How is everybody? Excellent. Okay, so we're going to talk new construction here. In each of our markets is a little bit different. However, I think we all have the commonality that we're maybe not Whidbey. Christina, you can pipe in. A little more dominated by larger builders. We don't have a lot of custom homes and definitely not kind of in the VA or active duty price range. So we deal with a lot of national builders as well as some regionals. And there's some commonalities in every state and in every experience. And you're going to hear this maybe preaching from all three of us the whole time, that the most important thing you need to do, no matter what you hear, is bring your agent with you on your first visit so they can sign you in. If you don't do that, most builders won't allow you an agent to represent you. And you'll see here, there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of ways that we can help you. It may not be the same way as in resale. However, you want to take our experience and our representation, like anything, like we always talk about, you want your own representation and it doesn't cost you anything to bring us. The builder pays us and you don't get a better deal when you don't bring us. So let's just get those things out of the way.
Well, and two, I mean, we've talked about in previous videos that we are recording this during COVID. So there are there's some social distancing guidelines, and at least for some of the builders in my area, they're allowing pre-registration. So if you as a buyer want to go and just yourself go to a model home, you can pre-register with us as your representation, and then we're still able to work with you and help you through the process, even if we don't go with you. But you need to make sure that we basically, our last names are paired together in their paperwork so that we can help you in the process.
And it's funny, it varies. Alan, I was online last night helping a client, and it was a new construction. I was looking at it, and these guys said, if you have an email, a phone conversation, or an in-person visit with our builder, instead of an in-person visit with your agent, no exceptions, your agent can't help you. I was like, that's interesting. So we'll see how that changes with COVID. But yeah, they're allowing appointments and things. It's not the same as it was. Actually, the new construction was first to kind of reopen here and allow people in. They still kind of have a little bit of an open house format where we have other registrations. But anyway, so I have a list of some of the things. We're just going to kind of rotate and discuss it for you guys today. The first thing had to do with knowing what questions to ask about what's included and what's not. When you walk in new construction, it's really sexy. Okay, it's gorgeous. It's the best of the best. I don't care whether you're buying the bottom of the barrel house or a $5 million house. I walk in and I want to buy a new house immediately, and I'm ready to sign up and hand over my money. The problem is when they deliver your house, it doesn't look anything like that.
You're saying the model home is dressed up?
It's just a little. She is ready for date night on the way out, and she had a stylist and a makeup artist and a total makeover before she got there, right?
Yeah, they're beautiful. I mean, they do every stylistic upgrade, you're doing the glass panel shower versus, the different options. They're going to do all the best looking and the most expensive options in that model home.
And stage it.
Oh yeah.
Stage it for the demographic. So if you're in that model house, chances are you're their demographic. So they're going to have a room for your daughter, a room for your son. They probably even have the age right. They're going to have, and I'm a little older than these two. It was big master bedroom suites. And so we'd have a fireplace in the master bedroom. We'd have a huge tub. We'd have, now we have showers for two. We'd have a sitting area, and you imagine yourself doing that. And then I only wish someone had said, you are never, ever going to sit in the den in your bedroom. Maybe now during COVID, we would have as an office.
You have a second option, the couch versus your own personal couch.
Yeah. It was an extra 500 or 400 of square feet. Even the bathrooms are huge. And that's where some of our experience just in houses in general can help bring you, okay, well, how important is that to you?
It's funny that you say that because of the age difference and how they do cater towards what their demographic is. What I'm seeing is, middle-aged families for the most part buying new construction. So they're in that good price range. And all of the kids' rooms have these really cool lofts that they can put their beds in with these ladders. And it's like this little tree house in their room. Or almost all of them have a playroom or some type of separate space that could be a playroom. So it's
or what we see a lot is like balconies off of bedrooms. And when you guys have got 3 or 4 year olds, you figure, well, I can just lock that door. And having raised teenagers, I'm like, no way. There is not an interior exterior entrance and egress, because that they're going to be coming and going from it, or their friends are. And it's funny because I showed a family that was PCSing here from, I think they were in Japan, and they had one daughter that's 12 or 13, and then 2 little twins. And they were like, nope, we're not buying a house with the balcony with the door there. They knew it already, that was a no-go. But anyway, back to the subject. It's some of the design things we can see, and then the what's included. So like I have a pet peeve of we know the refrigerators aren't usually included, but you as a buyer don't know to even ask that. And then I have a lot of guys fall in love with these 5-burner stoves with the griddle down the middle. Yeah. And then that's not the stove that comes with the house. Like they're loving the kitchen because of this cool stove. Well, that's another, $1,000 upgrade or whatever. The other thing I think is flooring. We see the flooring and they'll tell you, oh yeah, it's tile flooring. Well, it's tile in the entryway, and then you have sheet vinyl in the laundry room, and you have really basic carpeting and thin pads.
Yeah, like the base model, at least in Florida, the base model here a lot is like the living room will actually be carpet, but you'll see the dressed up model, and that ends up being tile. It is fun because it's Florida in the afternoon. I'm going to keep recording and move indoors. It's raining. Sorry.
No, you guys are right though about taking an agent, because we've done a lot of these new construction sales and we know what's included and what's not and what the upcharges are going to be. So there's a lot of things that you might not think about, like the stove, or they always try and sell you on let's install blinds for you, but you can get them for half price from somebody else after you close. So if it's a must-have that you need when you close, it might make sense to have the builder put it in. But if you can wait and save a little bit of money, we're going to tell you, hey, maybe hold off on those because you can get a better deal over here. Or some of the houses are less expensive because they have vinyl siding instead of brick. Mm-hmm. And you might not really know that going in, but we can kind of walk you through that process of, here's what you're going to get with this price range, here's what your upgrades are going to look like, and here's the ones that might not make sense financially, and let me help you find a better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, in Florida, we deal a lot with stucco. Stucco cracks pretty easily, and it's so different. It can be perfect on the front of the house and totally not thick enough on the side of the house. And, whether or not you get stucco or hardy board, we don't see quite as much new construction with brick, at least here in Jacksonville. So it's builder to builder, and we said it before, and we'll say it a million times in this video, like bringing an agent to new construction is so important to show you those differences and to know what the safety is in 5 years down the road. What's the, are you going to have waterproof siding? What is going to happen?
And even if you have bought new construction before, like you just pointed out, it's different everywhere you go. So in my part of Florida, it's all brick and vinyl. Yeah. We rarely see anything else. And then here in Washington, it's all hardy board or things like that. We very rarely see brick here. So, and each state has different standards. So PCSing between the states and everything, you're going to see different things with builders. So D.R. Horton in Mississippi is very different from D.R. Horton in Florida. Or, it's just, we bring that knowledge and we're here to help you with that. So.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think one of the other things that we wanted to cover was community amenities. So we're in a really interesting time right now. It's a strong seller's market. There's not enough inventory. The builders have been able to kind of say what they're going to do, and everything's chugging along well. Well, one of the advantages that I have from being around a while is I've also seen recessions. And in San Diego anyway, the big sell is, look at we're going to have this community center, we're going to have this park, we're going to have a pool, we're going to have all these fabulous things. They're building a new elementary school over there. And I unfortunately lived through one of the recessions here that we bought the new house at the height of the market, and then none of those things were built. Because now they've got more safeguards, but there's triggers as to when they're going to be built. And as an experienced agent, I know what questions to ask the builder. Okay, what triggers the school being built?
Right.
Is it you're built at 90%? Is it the whole community's got to be built out at 90%? Because during this, I just read yesterday, we've lost like $2.5 billion of revenue of tax producing revenue last month. Dang. Do you think they're going to have all the money for all these amenities 6 months down the road? Maybe yes, maybe no. But we have to ask those questions, because I know I was counting on that pool for my kids and it never got built.
Right.
And we don't want that to happen to you.
And
so
that also
just to ask the questions. It's not making the judgment. We just need to say, okay, let's gather the information. Will that work for you? Because if you're buying this house with a small backyard based on using the community pool, and you're buying a house that doesn't have outside entertainment space because you're going to use the clubhouse to have your birthday parties, right, we need to know when those are going to be built.
And that kind of ties into HOAs.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you buy new construction, a lot of times the HOA is managed by a separate company until a certain percentage of the homes are built and sold. So understanding what that means for you as a homeowner in that neighborhood, how does that affect you? Will the rates go up for your HOA when it goes into your hands? How does that all play out? And we've all seen that, you know, through different communities being built, so we can, you know, get that information for you up front, so you know, okay, if I'm going to be in this house for 3 to 5 years, I can expect for us to take over the HOA during the time I'm here, and here's how that's all going to work.
Yeah, and I mean, that even honestly feeds a little bit into CDDs, which is something Florida has. I don't know, Christina, if you have that in your part of Florida.
Not really.
So it's basically for new build communities when they want to put the infrastructure in. So whether they do that splash pad at the beginning or once everything 80% built or whatever that community's build is, it helps get the roads and the water and all of that built, installed, whatever, into each community. And the builder is basically borrowing money from the government, the county, to put in that money. And then when you pay your property taxes, you actually pay back your portion of the CDD fee. So it comes in as a tax. But, you know, knowing that you're going to have a CDD fee, which in Jacksonville, at least, it's usually between $600 to $800 a year. But so it's not huge. It's like 50, 60, 70 bucks a month, but still something you want to consider if you're looking at a monthly budget and you're looking at BAH and what, you know, what your mortgage is going to be, that this is an extra like fee that's part of not only your HOA dues, like she was talking about, and potentially your amenity fees if you have extras, but just being a part of a new build community and knowing if the builder you're working with has a CDD fee involved or not.
I have seen that handled a little bit differently in my part of Florida. We usually don't see it at all, but there was one community where, and it's in a few communities where, like you said, say they need to build the road, they'll have a separate addendum that goes along with the contractor's or the builder's contract. And it'll say, you know, this is the general cost of this road. These amounts are going to be passed on to the homeowners. This is how it all breaks down. So you do know about it going into it, but it is something that you'll want someone to walk you through.
Yeah.
So this is actually huge in Southern California. They're called Mello-Roos here, named after the two people who came up with it, because we had this tax reform, I think it was in the 70s or 80s, that limits how quickly your property taxes can increase every year based on value. Well, they still needed to build new infrastructure. So it's a bond measure. And ours can be, it would be unusual for them to only be $600 a year. I've seen them, not 600 a month, but I've seen 6,000 a year. I've seen even higher than that, and that's to build all that beautiful infrastructure, especially the newest communities. So like one community we talked about in another episode was Chula Vista. So there's old Chula Vista, which is West Chula Vista. It was developed, in the 40s and 50s and earlier. So that doesn't have it. Yet where people want to live, that has all the parks and the trails and the new schools and the highly ranked schools, they all have Melrose. And it's a huge amount of money that you have to consider. And some of the builders it'll be part of their thing. No Melrose in another area. There's an area called San Ysidro closer to the border. There's no Melrose. However, the tax rate is higher. So we have to help guide through that, and they'll have to disclose it, but they're not going to bring it up when you're talking to them. They're not going to say, oh, and by the way, your Melrose is going to be $200 a month. So those are the questions we ask right away.
The Melrose, does it expire? Like, is there a 25-year on it, or does that work for y'all? Do you know?
Okay, so legally, I think most of them are 30 years. I tell my clients to just assume they go on forever. Yeah. Rarely does somebody stay in a house for 30 years. And secondly, they can be renewed. Okay. So they started kind of in the 80s, so we've seen some go away, and but not as many as you think. So a house built before 1985 probably won't have them. Most built after that will. And then there's a few new constructions. There's one that I love actually up by Camp Pendleton. It's in one of the best school districts, and they're a small pocket. It's one builder building 3 different little communities. They don't have any Melrose because the infrastructure is already there. It was just a smaller piece of land rather than a big, huge new community. Even though that part of Oceanside had Melrose 30 years ago, they don't have it now because the schools and everything are already built. So there's a few pockets sometimes. But what's funny is the price of the house will be higher if there's no Melrose. So you're paying for that some way or another. So if there's no Melrose, it's going to go for more. Just like if there's no HOA, the condo goes for more because it balances out.
Is that super loud to you guys?
Can't hear anything.
Okay, great. My neighbors are getting their lawn mowed.
I can't even hear it.
Nope, I don't hear it.
Okay, perfect. I'll just shut up then. We can continue.
Okay. Christina, do you have anything in Washington like that, or is your development different?
So I'm glad you brought that up because Washington is kind of an oddball, and it's because I'm not on the mainland, I'm on an island. So the island is different from the rest of the state. And I do cover the mainland, but the majority of the military that I work with is going to be on the island. So I love the part of Florida I'm in because if we can't find a resale for you, I know we can find a new construction home that you'll love. And here we don't have that option at the moment. However, we did just get a new community approved for Oak Harbor, and they're breaking ground as we speak. I mean, the equipment just showed up a couple days ago, so I'm really excited for that. And that one is going to be handled very differently. So it's actually a builder from Vegas, and he's done some really big projects across the country, and he's very experienced. So he has a way of doing it that's a little bit different than big box builders, but he has a really good reputation. So I think they're going to be quality homes. They're going to have some good options. So, and they'll all have a great price range. So it's going to be 150 to the 800s. So there's going to be, yeah, because they're kind of on a hill. Yeah, there's a hill, so they're going to be overlooking the water, and of course the better views are going to be more, and etc. But yeah, so I'm excited for those. We'll have some good options for people. But one of the things we hadn't mentioned is the builder warranties as well. So, once you get into these homes, every builder has some type of warranty, and it's usually kind of the standard 1-year builder warranty that covers any major defects from construction. So, and you'll get a full thing on that and what that all includes. So it's nice to know that you have that warranty with your property, and you can transfer it to another buyer usually if you have a longer warranty when you sell. So just something to keep in mind.
And a lot of times that means like on the 364th day of owning the home, you can do a walkthrough and say, Like, granted, you might have punched the hole in the wall, but they will fix it, depending on the builder. But you can do that.
Do you have an anger management problem we need to talk about?
I don't, but I had a friend that had to deal with that because they had one of those like circular plates where the door would hit on the entry, and he was joking with his wife that it wasn't a big deal, and he punched it, and it like put a significant hole in the wall. Like, okay, well, glad it's still your first year, guys.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned something, Christina, I know we want to touch on, and it was about move-in dates. So the biggest challenge, I think, for new construction for my active duty people is the move-in, because you're coming and you don't have 6 months, 18 months. The base housing is impacted. There's nowhere. Rentals want a year lease, that kind of thing. So we're often shopping for what they call their move-in readies. And that might be a 30 or 45-day escrow. That might be something that's already, all the amenities are picked except flooring. There's things vary a lot, but the move-in dates, just know that when you're looking at new construction, again, they look really sexy, yet they may not be a reality for you. Because if you're here for 3 years, you don't really have 6 months to a year to wait for the house to be built. And the builder's contracts don't have any repercussions if they're slow on delivery. So
And they
you
really can't.
got
I
to
mean,
have a backup plan.
if you get a rain delay or something like that, that's out of their control. So they do need that wiggle room, but it's good to be aware of how that could affect you. Like you're saying, you know, in Florida, we see a lot of 5 to 6 months from ground up. And like you said, a lot of builders have homes already ready to go. So if you're willing to compromise on maybe square footage or something like that, you can get something that's ready now. In Washington, because of the high prices here, just in general for property, I would say probably 80% of the buyers I get coming in ask me, what if I just buy land and build? Maybe that'll be cheaper and easier. For starters, it's going to be hard to find a lot that's buildable here. And second of all, getting a house built from ground up when you're buying a lot here is going to take a very long time. Our contractors are so backed up, and builders as well. If you have time to wait, sure, it's a great option, but not if you're military coming in a couple months. It's not even feasible. So
Yeah. We
Go ahead.
well, I slightly mentioned a walkthrough jokingly, but I feel like we need to talk about the depth of like the walkthrough before closing on the home the first time, not the walkthrough at 364 days, but like the main walkthrough you do. So
Yeah, can you get that? The blue tape, the famous blue
yeah.
tape.
We talked earlier before we started recording about not like using blue painter's tape basically to mark all these major things that you wanted fixed. But I mean, Christina, you said you give 3 rolls of blue tape.
builders love me. Now, so let me back up just a little bit for anyone who hasn't
Sure.
bought construction. Normally when you buy a resale, we do a walkthrough either the day before closing or right before closing, just to make sure everything looks like it did when you made the offer on the house and the ceiling hasn't fallen in or anything. For new construction, what they do is like a pre-walkthrough, and it'll usually be a week before closing. And you'll go through, the builder will give you a roll of blue painter's tape, and you'll pull off little pieces, and you'll walk through and you'll see, okay, you know, when they were building the cabinets, maybe one of the doors isn't quite hanging right on the hinges, you know, and so we'll put a piece of blue tape on there, and the builder knows in that week before closing, they need to come through and fix anything that has blue tape on it. Builders are busy, especially if you get to the end of their fiscal year. They want to push things through and get them close so they're off the books in time. And so sometimes they can get a little bit sloppy and in a rush, but we're here to make sure things get done right. And there are really good builders out there, but they do get busy. So I will usually give my clients a couple rolls of blue tape and then say, hey, this is a new house. It's never going to be 100% perfect because it is a house. Boards are not 100% straight, but this needs to be a perfect house for you because it is brand new and we want it to be right and for you to be happy with it. So let's go through, and we'll start at the front door. We'll start on one wall and we follow that wall all the way through the house until we make it back to the front door, and we just tape anything that doesn't look right. You know, sometimes the crown molding has a defect in it that maybe the builder didn't see. So then they'll go through after your blue tape walkthrough, and fix anything that was taped. We'll do another walkthrough before closing, and it should look beautiful. Keep in mind with the blue tape walkthrough, usually it's just primer on the walls. So don't go taping up all the walls that the paint doesn't look right, because it's not even on there yet. So, and we'll walk you through that as well.
That's interesting. We usually don't do blue tape till we have the paint. And one of my favorites was a couple that, if it was a high or a low, we were marking it. It was a higher end place, you know, it's $1 million house. Yet it's really interesting, and the more eyes, the better. So we love to have both of you there. We love to be there. Don't let the builder, you know, they'll say, oh, we got it from here. Don't bother your agent. Now, you know what? We're getting paid. Let us go out there and work for you. It's never a bother. That's one thing people forget with new construction. It's our job. It's not a bother to go out there with you at whatever phase of the construction.
We love to walk through, and also just real quick, I know we're getting low on time, but understanding that the house is not going to look good at that blue tape walkthrough because it's not ready yet. So I had a client who bought sight unseen. They showed up just in time for the blue tape walkthrough, and they looked terrified. And finally we will go back for the last walkthrough, and they go, oh my gosh, thank goodness it looks right. And I said, what's wrong? And they said, we thought that's how it was going to look when it was done. And I said, no, that's just part of the process. So knowing that up front, that's just a stage in the process before closing.
And knowing you can ask for a lot of things to be fixed, not letting the builder sort of think they're sales agents. You know, they work for the builder, they don't work for you. So, you know, knowing what you can and can't ask for, and not letting you as a buyer get a little pushed around or a little bullied. Once again, that's where we come in and help you have representation and guide you with what you can and can't do, and help walk you through the super long paperwork that they give you. And it's just, we can't harp on it enough.
Bring your agent. We can't do enough.
That does go back to, they have their lenders that they prefer to use as well. And sometimes they're local lenders who are amazing and get great rates, but make sure that you're talking with us about that, and we'll definitely bring it up as well, because sometimes it's a big box lender and you're not getting the great rate, or you might have some fees that you could avoid with a different lender. So we'll walk you through that as well.
Well, thank you guys for joining us today. And the Empowered PCS on new construction, where we're your boots on the ground. We appreciate you.
See you guys.
Bye.